I very naively voted to leave, and my wife casually asked me one evening what my voting decision was, and I put it into a very succinct situation. I told her what I did, and it was like lighting the blue touch paper and standing back. And I don't think I've ever seen anyone who felt so devastatingly betrayed, upset, let down. And we've got two daughters, 15 and 18 at the moment, and as far as I'm concerned, that was the end of a very successful marriage.
Do you regret the way you voted?
I regret it so much. It breaks my heart talking about it.
I have heard some Brexit regrets, but wow, that's the type of stuff that you hear as like a myth or a legend. It's like one of those stories from another person, but that was just unreal. Anyway, let's listen to what Rees-Mogg had to say and how he reacted to that comment.
Jacob.
Well, the story you tell is incredibly sad and heartrending for you. And there's very little I can say on that side of it.
There is, you could say sorry, which he doesn't do.
I appreciate that.
Felt that the government, actually particularly Theresa May, made a great mistake after the referendum in not making it clear that all EU nationals who were here were not only entitled to stay but were welcome to stay.
Yeah.
It might have helped, but the message that was coming out of the Leave campaign was just complete racism. It was constant racism. It was constant berating of migrants coming into the country, taking people's jobs. That's the actual problem, not May coming out and going, oh, we want you to stay. Before we go any further, I'd just like to say thank you to all my Patreon supporters. You really help this channel, but also my YouTube supporters. If you'd like to become a Patreon or buy me a coffee, please check the links out in the description. Let's have a listen to this mum who's very distraught about what she's done to her children.
I do have a lump in my throat. I feel a bit sick because of my kids. They wanted to remain. Everyone I know practically.
Do you feel more individual today than you did yesterday? With that lump in your throat?
Yeah, no, because of the upset.
I think we shouldn't have come out of Brexit. You know what I mean? I could be still sat here tomorrow. If there's one little niggly bit ain't right, and that's it.
Too much paperwork.
Yeah, that's right, it is.
Filling in commodity codes, getting test certificates for products which used to flow from my desk through the warehouse out on a daily, weekly and monthly basis. I was one of the idiots that bought the line. It won't affect trade. It will make it easier for us to make our own plans, etc.
It doesn't make you an idiot. Let's be clear about that. I mean, you're perfectly entitled to call yourself an idiot, but I wouldn't want anybody else listening to think that I would call them an idiot, despite the lies that Dominic Raab told on this programme about precisely that point, actually. Not this programme, this radio station. I beg your pardon. They are
simply telling. I can say it, that they are simply lying.
Yes.
Because it is nothing other than an unmitigating disaster for us to try and ship product. And the amount of time, effort and money that it's now costing us to do that is, quite frankly, staggering and obscene.
The problems are the increased costs, paperwork and border delays, which the Public Accounts Committee have identified as the only detectable impact of Brexit. It's actually incredible. If this was happening to another country, depending on whether we liked it or not, or whether we'd recently beaten or lost to them at football, we'd either be crying or laughing, wouldn't we?
We would. I mean, we've literally shot ourselves in the foot. I mean,
both feet.
Over and over, and yeah, both feet, over and over and over again. And I just cannot believe this. These lies they tell that it isn't affecting us. It is, and it is affecting little old me.
And still, the claim that, you know, when they're defending Boris Johnson's latest depravities, the claim that he got Brexit done is supposed to be on the debit side. So you imagine it's a present that you bought, and you're not an idiot for buying it because they told you it was a market stall. Roll up, buy this wonderful present. And I think we need to find ways of reaching the people who weren't doing it with their full chests, you know. They were just like, comme ci, comme ça, weighing it up a little bit. And I think that's you, right? And you just thought, oh, you're right, I'll go down that road.
Correct.
And then you've opened the box now, and it's full of, I can't say that word on the radio. It's full of tut. That's a lovely word. Yeah, it's full of tut. Yes. So who do you blame?
I'm looking for the salesman that sold it me.
Well, there you go.
As a traditional Conservative voter, I'm not really happy with what David Cameron's doing, and I think for a lot of people, myself included, it became like a protest vote. Kick up the arse to maybe up your game. But we were spinning quite some positive stories at the time. Guess what? Reality has hit, because there was no plan of what leave meant. I think that Theresa May and the Conservative Party have completely lost touch with the people of this country. They bang on about it's the will of the people. They've just stopped listening. They don't want to hear people like me. I've changed my mind. Anyone who knows about filmmaking, it's a collaborative effort. And I think the sad state of Brexit is we've turned our back on our bigger community, our friends and neighbouring nations. Nothing moves forward until you're brave enough to stand up and go, I made a mistake. The only solution is to have another vote where we now know the true facts of both sides of it. We can't just sit here and let this Mickey Mouse politics continue. How's that going to help the NHS? How's that going to help our standing in the world? Are we really prepared to throw all of that away?
The thing that really frustrates me is the fact that I voted for Brexit because of the lies that I was peddled. And if I could turn back the clock and untick that box, I am so distraught with myself for being, especially after listening to commentators like yourself and others,
yes,
especially after being duped in such a fantastically horrendous, abhorrent way.
Yes,
I'm amazed. I'm amazed at myself that I fell for it. I am absolutely fuming with the fact that I voted for Brexit, because I, like millions of other people, would absolutely turn back the clock, because everything that's been said, everything that's been promised, everything that's been forecast has basically, apart from the negative, has not come to fruition.
Well, I don't think you should be so hard on yourself, because I've got half a dozen people in my inbox still who haven't seen the light. So you should give yourself a break, shouldn't you? And also, you know, it might now look in retrospect like some easily avoidable pratfall, but the effort that was put into leading you into it was immense, mate. They've never spent that kind of money on anything over the years. The think tanks, the newspapers, the magazines, the politicians, absolutely epic effort put into it.
To what end?
Well, there's the great mystery of our time. There's the great mystery of our time, Stephen. To what end? I still don't know what they think they want.
But we do have a good idea, because Jacob Rees-Mogg here is going to let out what the actual Brexit plan was. Except the British public aren't going to like it. The impression I got during the referendum and since is that Brits wanted to be protected from the outside world, the British business especially. However, that's not the plan for the Brexiteers in power. You're about to hear Jacob Rees-Mogg talk about free trade. The idea is to reduce cost, to bring in goods from all over the world at cheaper prices, because this is the only way forward for Brexiteers, brought forward by the analyst and economist Patrick Minford from Cardiff University, who the Brexiteers seem to praise like some sort of godly statue towards economic policy, because no other economist came up with any ideas as to how you could reverse the damage of Brexit. Let's listen to Jacob Rees-Mogg talk about Singapore-on-Thames.
And doing them for an extended period, as you realise how much we need freedom and how much we need the free market and the private sector. Billions and billions have gone into the health service, but now we have to recognise that we need a growing economy to pay our way. And how are we going to get that? Higher taxes or lower taxes? You tell me. Can we have a shout out? Higher taxes or lower taxes? Okay. You see, I'm bound by collective responsibilities. I didn't want to express opinion. I just wanted to sample the opinion of the IEA. And do you think we'll get that by higher regulation or lower regulation? Lower. Very good. And I again am not expressing a view. So here.
And there you have another part of it. Low regulation, low tax. They don't really want to be supporting something like the NHS. They want to get rid of it because it means high tax. They don't really want workers' rights. That's why you saw P&O workers get fired so quickly. I doubt that both the government are going to be able to do anything about that. But that is low regulation. That means they're competitive with the EU, which they have to be because of tariffs that the UK have to deal with as a result of being outside of the EU.
It's very nice to be Singapore on Thames. Singapore on Thames? Or Brussels over the Channel?
John's in Romford. John, what would you like to say?
I'm extremely disappointed,
Why?
James. I voted Leave, and I realise now it was a pack of lies.
Yes.
It's amazing, isn't it, how many times the word pack of lies or lies seems to come out from the public over and over again about what Brexiteers promised and what they actually produced. It's almost like one of those drinking games. You've got to take a shot every time someone says lies and Brexit.
I voted because I wanted to maintain our sovereignty. I didn't want to be governed by a bunch of...
Let's not fall out. But no one used the word sovereignty until 2018, mate.
Yeah, but it was the main problem. I wanted our borders to stop that. I didn't want people coming in the country. We didn't know who they were. I wanted the borders to be controlled, but they're not.
Well, they were, weren't they?
Well, they was far better than they are now. I agree, definitely.
But you're referring to the refugees in the dinghies, I think.
Well, I am.
Rather than the people who came here, showed their passports at customs and went on to get a job.
Good, I'll buy them a pint. I'll shake their hand and say, well done, I hope you make it.
You should say sorry first.
Well, I think we've been told a pack of lies, and I'm extremely disappointed. Boris Johnson will be better off, I think, in Billy Smart's circus. I think the guy's a clown.
What? I mean, when you look back on John, 2016 John, and 2022 John, what would 2022 John tell 2016 John?
Examine what you were being told far more than we did. We were told a pack of lies, and I think we too readily accepted them without actually examining what we were being told.
And finally, or not finally, talk for as long as you want, but what intrigues me is, what was it about? Because, I mean, I know people like Farage were shouting the phrase control our borders, but I don't know whether you were listening to me at the time. If you ever asked anybody what that meant, they would usually fall apart faster than a chocolate teapot. So,
Will, hello.
Hi.
What do you want to say about how you voted and how you feel now?
What I want to say is I voted to leave 2 years ago, and I voted to leave on the basis that some politicians sold it, which was that we'd do more trade, that we'd get a better NHS, that we'd take back control of our laws. And it's clear that the Prime Minister's deal doesn't come close to doing that. We're still going to be sticking around copying European laws. We're not going to be able to do any meaningful trade deals. We're not saving money. We're handing over 50 billion for nothing. But I don't at all blame Theresa May. I think she has picked up the mantle and tried to deliver upon promises that it was impossible in retrospect to ever actually achieve. And what I'd like to say to her, and what I'd like you to ask, is it is not your duty to deliver upon impossible promises made by people who have actually ran away from you and left you with this gargantuan impossible task. And if I'm allowed one more thing.
Go on.
It's if she's going to go on 5 Live and go on LBC and try and appeal to the public over the MPs who are being really awkward, why not do that in the simplest, easiest, fairest way possible, which is just to give us a say on what we actually think on her deal? Because I know many people who voted to leave who feel exactly as I do, and who would like the chance to say this deal is not what I voted for. Neither is what Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg is peddling now, because they're not actually offering any answers or a plan. And it's clear that what we've got now is the best that we can get.
So before I finish, I have a sweet little clip from Nigel Farage, but I just want to say, what do you think? I mean, is the tide turning? It seems like it. And have I created a brand new game where every time someone says Brexit was sold through lies, you should take some sort of shot? It's an interesting thing that's just happened here, and I did not expect myself to be saying this evening. For some of you may have noticed this little chart that kept coming up every so often when anyone mentioned the word trade. This came out in March 2022, and essentially it shows that exports for the UK have completely and utterly sunk, especially compared to the G7. And part of that seems to be Brexit. This was even confirmed by Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, in 2022, and unfortunately for us, it's not going to get any better. But it's interesting as well, because you're about to hear Nigel go off on one, talking about WTO, which would have been an even harder Brexit.
From the con job that got us into the common market until today, what you have are big global businesses and their friends in career politics.
There you go, a bit more conspiracy theory for you. The friends in politics, businesses? What's he gibbering about?
Trying to use economic arguments to frighten us to say we must be part of the big club. The honest truth is, I think with the WTO Brexit, we can become more competitive, more global and make more money.
This is a lighter version of Brexit, and look at the damage it's done. But then watch Nigel as he twists it and admits that he doesn't know what he's talking about, but yet he's just tried to sell that to the public, that WTO would be even better.
Dominic Grieve, as Barbara says, thinks it'll be an economic disaster. Who knows whether he's right or I'm right? The answer is nobody, but what I can tell you is this.
So you agree nobody knows what might happen? Is that good enough?
Well, I tell you, if you
nobody
can tell
knows?
So much to unpack here, but you're starting to see that there's a lot of reason why a lot of people who voted to leave should be very, very angry with all of this. I mean, even if you just unpack that little bit there, Nigel flip-flaps more than a floundering fish on land. He goes from saying the word honest and WTO terms being great to nobody knows. Well, unfortunately for Nigel, a lot of people are starting to wake up to what he's done. And they are...
We're very, very pissed off.